I was all set to clip a rant about the horrid state of the comics industry that I did a couple of days ago. It was a guitar rant. It was actually a pretty fun one. Until I saw something so disturbing, I had to include it. Now, it depends on how long I'm going to rant about this one. Ooh, and this is a doozy. You know what? Don't look if you don't want to be disturbed. I'm going to pop it up on screen in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. You ready? I'm sorry about that one. Hello, everyone. I am still Mecha Random 42, the one, the only, the original, your favorite YouTube harpy. Oh, yeah, I see it in the corner of my eye over here on my other monitor. Gary from Nerdrotic said, yeah, it's real. Because somebody had sent this around on... Oh, no. Alright. First off, I am in the alphabet community. I'm the B. Also, I have gone to many swingers clubs, alternative lifestyle things. This really ties into a rant that I had a couple of days ago where you have a lot of people who come in preaching a bunch of stuff that they're not quite smart enough to understand. I missed this because I think everybody was too busy laughing at the new Warriors. According to Screen Geek, Marvel's hinting at that. No, it's not just that. They're doing a polyamorous sort of thing. Here's the thing. A, comic industry, you're not qualified to talk about. And B, comic books are not the format to be talking about this. You want to do a grown-up adult discussion about relationships and those sort of things. Fine. Don't do it in a comic book that's aimed towards 10-year-olds, first off. And don't do it from these people who are making current comic books, because I've seen how the current comic book industry interacts with people. Like, I'm talking about the Marvel and the DC, the mainstream ones, those people. I've seen how those people act with people online. I was blocked by those people before I even heard of most of them, and the way they conduct themselves in the most childish, temper tantrum throwing manner makes me think that they're not qualified to talk about real grown-up issues. Heck, they probably don't even know how to balance a checkbook. They probably don't even know what one is, because these are immature little people who go around pushing ideals that they're not quite adult enough to understand. They're not quite grown up enough to understand. Now, what you can do with a relationship between 3 people, you can go in and make a very compelling, interesting story dealing with how that's going to affect one partner versus another. You can go in at that. And I have people that I know in real life who have been in these relationships, and they're a little bit more complex than just 3 people doing the giggity all at once. It's a little bit more complicated than that. People have emotions. People have jealousy issues. There is a time and a place to do a story like that. And the current state of the comics industry is not going to tell me, a 40-year-old white girl who's actually been to swingers clubs and been in those sort of relationships and dealt with back when, 20 years ago, when it was still called alternative lifestyles back then. I dealt with that type of stuff. I do not need these people trying to convince me to do anything, because they go around bullying people over political beliefs or imagined perceived political beliefs. They go around trying to force whatever they think is righteous and good and proper on people's faces. Meanwhile, doing so by coming in and stealing an established property, coming in, changing out a couple of things because they're not creative or talented enough to do anything on their own. And that really ties into the rant I had a couple of days ago. So once you see me change clothes in the video clip, that means I've edited the rant that's pretty much related to this from a few days ago into this. And it all comes back to this perception that they have where they're fixing something, right? And that is not the case. You're not fixing something. You're actually doing everything you can to shove people away from it. Because you know what? I might check out a Marvel comic book if it had an interesting enough premise, but not after the way some of these people who work for the bigger corporations have conducted themselves. I'm sorry, but when you're hiring people who not only cry bully and play the victim, but could have possibly, potentially, offed somebody, or at least contributed to it. I'm not naming names in that, I'm just saying that, I see what's going on. As a potential customer, I'm not touching any of your crap, Marvel or DC. And it goes to the fact that these people that they're hiring to do this are not anybody who's qualified to do anything other than sit there and be mad that they got to work for a living because their daddies told them that they were princesses and now they got to get out. They're getting their fat asses out into the real world, get jobs. And I'm saying it because I got one. They got to get their asses out into the real world, get jobs, support themselves, and they're resentful that people created something before them and they can't do it themselves. And that's going to be related to the guitar rant that I'm probably going to edit in. And check out my live streams. I've been doing a lot of them, especially Monday afternoons. As somebody who does not read comic books and does not buy comic books, as you guys know, when I see the type of people that are making comic books, right? These type of people, they're shoving their own crap into comic books, whether you want or not. They're political ideals. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care who you want me to vote for. Okay? You're not smart enough to be giving me political advice. You can't even get a proper hair color to match your skin tone like I can. Also, stop stealing the punk look, feminists. Stop, because we were rocking the bright red and bright green and all these multicolored hair long before any of you in the punk world, so bite me, Kelly Sue DeConnick and Gail Simone and all you people who dye your hair bright colors because you think you're empowering your... No. You're stealing it from the old punk dudes, right? The old punk rockers who actually had to go in and use Kool-Aid. They couldn't just go and buy $6 worth of L'Oreal products from Sally Beauty like we can now. No, you had to go in and you had to bleach out your hair and you had to get Kool-Aid and dye it and mix up a paste with the Kool-Aid in the old packets without the with nothing in it, just no sugar in it, just the packets. And you had to make a paste out of that. And you had to stick it on your hair with foil. Yeah, you did. And you guys can't do that. You wouldn't know how to do that. And here's the thing. I am so tired of being bait and switched by these companies. You see in the movies, you see Iron Man and Captain America and all this stuff. And you go to look at the comic books, and what do you got?
Double shiny race and gender swab.
You got a double shiny race and gender swab where they made them all gay or whatever. You turned it into a goddamn soap opera. If I want a soap opera, I would read Archie comics. That's what they're for, okay? That's what they're for. I want to see Iron Man on screen. I want to go into a comic book store. I want to get Iron Man on a comic book, okay? I want to see him. I don't want to see some little girl who you need just for representation and diversity, right? By doing that and changing her out because Tony Stark he had a penis. How dare he have a penis? No. You gotta fix him by making some character who can't create their own thing. They just gotta come in and be the bestest ever because Tony Stark's what? He's just an old white dude. Well, why the hell do I care about him then? Why would I care about watching any of these movies if you can't even give me the same characters in the books that I'm seeing up on screen? Come on. I find it to be extremely offensive that you guys cannot create a single character that is strong enough on their own without having to go in and steal a character that was originally an old white dude just because you don't like white dudes. Is that your problem? You just gotta go in and steal everything, just like Rey, just like Mary Ray Palpatine, just like Michael fucking Burnham. She's gotta steal Spock's name and his father and everything else about him because she can't do it on her own. These characters are not strong enough to be created on their own, yet they're absolutely perfect and have no consequences for anything that they do. They're too perfect, they're too overpowered, and we're just ismophobes if we don't like them. I don't care what color of skin they are. You give me a character that is worth a fuck, and I'm going to go and buy that. But right now, I'm seeing different stuff on screen than I'm seeing in the books. I'm seeing basically a pathetic attempt to go and steal what somebody else did because you can't do it on your own. That's all this is. You cannot create a character that is strong enough on their own without going in and turning it into a giant game of Wokemon. That's all it is. They just have to go in and...
race swap.
Or
gender swap.
or
Gender fluid.
do any of those little things. You got to represent the 0.001% of the population because you think that those people are going to buy your comics. And guess what? I'm an alphabet community person. I am LGBT. I'm bisexual. I'm the B in LGBT. And last time I checked, I didn't need to go and conform and apply myself and sign up for some group thing to be comfortable in who I am and who I sleep with. Thank you very much, very much. I don't need to be pandered to by a bunch of white women who can't even get the right hair color on their faces. For what? You don't need to pander to me. I am okay. I am comfortable enough and strong enough as a human to be okay with who I sleep with what color of hair I have, with any of this. And I do not need some 40-year-old white girl to tell me that I need to be pandered to, that I need this. No. If I want representation, then maybe I'm not a strong enough person in who I am and my own beliefs and my own personality and my own individuality, right? Because I have never needed to see what looks like me up on screen or in a comic book to feel okay. My favorite characters that I've found more inspiration from are people like Sheridan on Babylon 5, or for crying out loud, Yoda, freaking Yoda, baby Yoda as well. Any of these characters, the freaking Joker, I have had more inspiration from.
White male rage, white male rage, white male rage.
That I have any person or character who looks like me. And I want to make a comic book just to prove that somebody who does not read comic books can make one and sell more than these people. That's what I want to do. I want to sell more comic books than these people. I'm going to come in and I'm going to make my own damn book with blackjack and hookers. It's going to have tits. It's going to have a jiggle cam. And it's going to have everything that you want. And it's going to be a little closer to Star Trek because that's what I actually know. And that's my wheelhouse instead of superheroes. As somebody who is extending my geekdom into these franchises, people like this do not. They don't make it appealing. They don't make it easy for somebody like me. They don't make me want to buy their crap. They make me want to destroy. Destroy everything that they've done. They make me want to tear down Marvel and DC, because if you can't handle your company, you do not deserve to work for these companies. If you cannot give your customer what they want, you do not deserve it. And I'm tired of this stuff. And that is my rant on comic books today. I'm also tired of Batman. I don't need the same comic over and over. I am not going to rely on the same I'm not going to rely on Batman or Superman or Spider-Man or Iron Man or Captain America or any of the established characters like these women do. These women have to go in and take all these established characters because they can't do anything on their own. I'm tired of their shit. Get them off my screen. Mr. Another, Becca Random, are you saying that you don't need to hear what a 40-year-old white woman have to say about superheroes? Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much. I find my jiggle cam. Jiggle cam, thank you so much. Because the jiggle cam is life. And I usually am not hiding behind the guitar when I'm ranting. Thank you so much. Gotta offend them all. Well, that's the thing. I'm more offended that they can't create something of their own, that they gotta go in and just swap it out. How is that not just putting Tony Stark in fucking blackface and taking off his dick? Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to ask this a question. As somebody who doesn't read comic books, how is Ironheart not just blackface Tony Stark with a chopped off dick? That's what it seems like to me. Is that it? You didn't think about that one, did ya? Did ya, Kelly? Did ya? Gail, did you guys think about that? Did you think that you're actually just blackfacing all of these characters when you do that? And I know they're probably longer than these people have even been in the industry. But that's what it seems like to me. How many times does Thomas and Martha Wayne have to die on screen? How many times do you need to see those goddamn pearls fall? Exactly, Captain April. And I'm not saying that's what he is. I'm just saying, as somebody who doesn't know the comic industry, somebody who's just a normie who would come in and see these comics in a comic book store if they still existed, And yeah, I said it. You people are responsible for not having comic book stores anymore. You're the reason. If I see that as a normie, as a Star Trek person, as somebody who is extraordinarily liberal, extraordinarily progressive, I see that and I question these things because, like I said, I'm a Star Trek fan. I am extraordinarily progressive, so much so that I do not condemn my conservative viewers, knowing that they probably make up about 80% of my audience. I'm not going to shun them or shame them for it. Why would I? What business is it of mine, right? My job is to entertain people. And that's the thing. When I see these characters in comic shops, my question is, oh, why did you blackface these characters? Why did you chop off their dick and give them this and that? Why are you more concerned with the superficial shit? Because being so obsessed with the color of somebody's skin is racist. It kind of is. It's a little bit racist. It is. Or their gender, or their sexual orientation, their identity. Those things are actually not progressive, being so obsessed with them, needing to have that as tokenism, as a way to prove that you're not, right? That actually is a little bit more racist than, it's a little culturally insensitive is what it is, because it props yourself up as the white savior type to be the spokesperson, to be the voice for all of the underrepresented poor minorities, and a way to bring attention for yourselves.
To give attention to what is near you is to become an expert on your environment. And who doesn't want to be an expert on something?
Honestly, since Miles came into the main universe, why didn't he become Iron Spider or some other name? Because then they couldn't market Spider-Man. Because like I said, they have no characters of their own. Would Iron Spider sell? I don't know if an Iron Spider book would sell. Because you have set amount of time, like shelf life on fads and trends. You have a set amount of things before you have to kind of create something new. So comic books, as somebody who grew up in the 80s, I saw the big ones. I saw your Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man. Those were the big four that I saw as a kid. And then you would see like Aquaman come in. And, I would more see DC, but like Spider-Man, I was considered to be one of the huge main superheroes, even though he was Marvel. So you have most of your superheroes coming out of DC that your normies are going to know. And a lot more normies who don't really care about comics are going to know the DC characters more than anything because they're iconic. Because they're the characters on the Underoos. They're the characters on the cartoon shows that you remember. They're the characters that you see on your SpaghettiOs, or people like Spider-Man. That's why, because they're iconic characters. They're like Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck, and anything else that you do are not really going to be as famous because, like I said, Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck. Okay, you got those characters, and they are so much of that time period of like the 1950s, early Disney cartoon days, or the Disney Channel stuff. Like the Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck are so iconic to Disney of a certain time period. Right? Marvel and DC are so iconic to a certain time period that anything else they do isn't going to be nearly as well received. You're going to have to completely reinvent your industry, and that's what Comicsgate's doing with selling books to, everybody, to people who might not buy comic books. How many people who have bought Comicsgate books have not bought a comic book either ever in their life or in a long, long time? I'm going to go out on a limb and say a lot of people probably haven't bought a comic book in a very, very long time who bought something from Comicsgate. You get somebody like Rob from Midnight's Edge. He bought a Cyberfrog t-shirt. He hasn't bought comics in a long time. A lot of people haven't bought comics in a long time who are out watching these movies. So, of course, you're trying for an industry that doesn't exist anymore. You're trying to market to a demographic that doesn't want your product. The times are changing. Seriously, dude, don't make me play Dylan on this thing. I can play more than just punk rock. I can come out and play some Dylan if you need me to. I can actually come out and play some fucking Dylan if you need me to. Point is, times are changing. Kids don't want comic books anymore. Stop trying to pander to your 20-something demographic of people who are just out there to try and be the white savior to prove that they're not is to each other. Try and, Make an app game, like make a Roblox, make a Fortnite, make something with microtransactions for your kid audience, because kids want to buy stuff, kids want to buy things, kids still want to buy things. Guess what though? They're buying Robux, they're buying shit, they're buying apps on their video game phones, they're buying that type of thing. They're buying microtransactions, they're buying video games, they're buying video game related things. They're not buying comic characters. They're out there buying Bendy and the Ink Machine, Cuphead. I know. I used to be a YouTube Let's Play channel. I know what that demographic wants, and they don't want comic books. They want video games. Get it through your stupid heads, women. Seriously, they don't know what their audience is. And if they want the big bucks from the adult collectors, you gotta give the adult collectors something good. You gotta give them something with something to look at, and not just preach your goddamn stupid politics that you're not even smart enough to understand, women. And that is the big basis of this rant, is that they're not smart enough to be preaching the shit that they are. I don't want to take their word for it. I don't want to take anybody's recommendation on anything. And I don't want to hear what they have to say about what election or what's ist or what's phobic, because guess what? You're not smart enough to understand it anyway. That's why I said either Miles Morales or Riri Williams. And also, who names a character Riri? Why would you name her? It's slang for, making fun of somebody who's special needs. It's slang for the word, and I'm going to say it, it's slang for the word retarded in a mean-spirited sort of you're mentally deficient sort of way. So why would you name a character that? It's the same dumbasses that name a character Safe Space and Snowflake, for fuck's sake. And I'm tired of it. If it's done well, you can have a political message in something. If it's done in a right sort of way with the right sort of message, portraying the right kind of thing, portraying some sort of growth. Like, oh yeah, maybe disliking a whole entire shade of people, like white people might be bad. Might be a little bit of a bad thing.
I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made for him.
That's not very progressive or liberal or anything about the equal rights or civil rights movement, Brie. And that's what pisses me off too. It's like they're not smart enough to understand the message that they're trying to convey, which is why I always say, well, I'm not on any side. I'm really not. Thank you very much, picture on screen. All right, I'm going to go back to my live chat here now. I probably pissed everybody off with my rant.